Bound to get started at some point, Matt. Let's do it now. Got to hold the bass so I don't drop this thing before getting started with the theme music. Thank you for coming over, by the way.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, you are happy today? We're catching you in a good time? Bad time? We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
So today we're going to talk about a few things. First, I want to rewrite the script for the modern news. People call it, the bad news. People call it the olds. We're going to come up with the news. We're also going to figure out how one of our favorite new podcasts perfectly embodies the quote, "Art is a lie to tell the truth." I think you know who I'm talking about. We'll tease that and talk about that later. And then also I want to see what matters to you this summer. We're July 20th, not quite the dog days of summer, but certainly some of the feline days of summer, maybe some of the canine elements of summer, right? So
it's getting there.
Got to hit all of these different things, of course, before the episode is done. It's too late. First time.
I wasn't gonna sing over it. I thought about it, but it just was too fucking good. I would have ruined it. The dulcet tones of my voice would have ruined that jam.
Matt has been helping out with some of the intros lately.
Helping. I don't know if I'd say
every time.
Helping. I'm
holding down.
Bumbling. I am bumbling through an
performance.
Yeah.
Performance. So I got to go into the categories too before we get too deep here. Let's go straight to the categories. Matt's going to tell me what comes to mind when I shoot some of these free associative words or statements or prompts at him. First one being keyring. Tell me about the keyring. What did they do with the keyring?
You know what? I think my grandpa, actually. I have trinkets from my grandpa that's on my keyring. And I thought of the ring that I have, like the actual...
Are keys already a thing of the past now that Tesla has their key on a credit card?
Not mine.
Even metal keys, it seems totally antiquated.
I got the fucking captain's keys, bro. I got the captain's keys. These fucking bad boys aren't going anywhere. Keyless fobs though. That's that's totally a thing now. Keyless.
Next up, keyless fob. No, I'm kidding.
I was like, whoa.
Boxing ring.
Squared circle, baby.
The squared circle. Got to bring it back. Ring doorbell.
Privacy concerns.
Yeah. A little unsettling.
Yeah.
A little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
We got 7 more here. What's the best bottled water, Matt? Tell me.
San Pellegrino. And it's in a glass bottle.
Is it?
And it's imported from Italy. And it's delicious.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You got the sparkle.
It's not San Pellegrino. It's
you got the sparkle.
Yeah, no, that's San Pellegrino is different. It's Aquapana. That's what Aquapana.
Even better. Virgin Origin or Blue Galactic? Trying to scramble your brain.
The USS Federation Starship Enterprise, baby.
Space Force. Cardboard bed frame.
What is it? Olympic ingenuity right there.
Ingenuity. You can tell what side you're on for that one. Matt is Puritan now. He wants no Olympic banging.
Fucking. You know what I mean? I don't need you to create more super genetic freaks from your super athletic bodies.
You're thinking ahead. Yeah. As a future soccer dad or something.
Yeah, right. The competition. You're just weeding out the competition. Sorry, go ahead.
Stickers.
I thought of my friend Christina Ramirez, whose phobia in life is stickers. And I think it's the most fascinating thing because...
It's funny because she worked at a button company, which is the cousin of the sticker.
Yeah, right? Yeah, but they got pins. Pins are different. You know what I mean? Buttons are different. But like literally, my daughter, when she was younger, would love to give Christina stickers, and you'd watch her like gag. She would like, the other day, I don't care. I got kids now, whatever. So there was a Band-Aid, and she hates Band-Aids. Like they just disgust her. There was a Band-Aid on my blanket. One of the kids had Band-Aid on there. So it was just stuck to the blanket. I texted to her, and it was just all the vomit emojis. She was just like, literally, why did you send that? That's so disgusting. So anything stickers.
You bring up a funny point. Band-Aids are the most disgusting sticker.
They're terribly disgusting, yeah.
Technically a sticker.
She just like the idea of like your skin cells and all the gross dirt. But like it's a real phobia for her.
How about this? Is a Band-Aid, like a Band-Aid brand, by the way, the adhesive Band-Aid strip. Is that 1 sticker or 2 stickers?
It's a great question. That's a chicken and
Let's save that for later in the podcast.
Yeah, it kind of blew my mind.
I got 3 more. We'll clear them out, and then we can move on to like normal organic conversation.
Sure,
not just this preordained stuff.
Orgasmic conversation. Sorry,
experimenting with nowadays. Modern muscle.
I thought of brain power.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the modern muscle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Glute, the former muscle.
Yeah.
Sitting in silence.
Underrated.
It is. Questions.
Answers.
Great.
Sorry. That last one was questions.
No, call and response. I got questions.
Right.
You got answers.
Answers, yeah.
Well, fantastic. Thank you for playing along, as always.
It's become some of my favorite part because it makes me like think, I don't know, like you know, just on a different level. Like what's in here? You know what I mean? How this is. It's so interesting how people's brains are just completely different. We're so busy in our brains all the time in our meat machines that we don't realize everybody's in their own individual meat machine, and that all those things and individual feelings and that's going on right over there, and it's just wild to see how it is all processed for people.
Yeah, you instantly like figure out all the discrepancies. I'll give the prompt, maybe the viewer will think what the thing is, then you'll say what your thing is, and you're seeing whether you're related in some way, whether you're maybe thinking from a different perspective.
Totally different, you know, and then
lines you up.
And then how things are then connecting up, like, you know, syncing up, and like, oh, well, we thought of this and then this and this, and you know what I mean? Like, it's just a fun little brain game for me, you know?
That's where
which is the modern muscle.
That's what we're all about. Speaking of new brain games, let's rewrite the script for modern news. This doesn't have to take forever.
Lamestream media.
But there's something about the lamestream media that leaves me feeling discontent. Obviously, it's the fact that they end every broadcast with sports, do the weather 4 times in 30 minutes, even though the weather barely changes.
That was going to be my question. Are you talking about the 24-hour the 24-hour news cycle news, or are you talking about like syndicated nightly news, or are you just talking about news?
In my mind, it was the syndicated nightly.
Yeah, got you.
Because I think all things stem from that. You could maybe the cable news show is just a more fluffed up version of that. I mean, like the Weather Channel is like the weather piece that's been extrapolated.
Yeah.
ESPN is just the sports segment that's been
ESPN is literally
hammered out until it's.
That's literally what it was, though. It was a half an hour that older people would always tune in for, right? You know, a certain demographic would always tune into the news because that was how you stayed informed. Yeah. And there was only so many news channels, right? Like, or I mean, you know, programs. So it wasn't like you were getting like a choice of your flavor of news. Right. It was here's Walter Cronkite or here's Ted Koppel, and that's it.
So we can be kind of demographic specific. We could also do it based on a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Like Vice News is for, I don't know, hipsters or guys who think bourbon is an identity. I don't really know what Vice is for exactly. But this could be any way you want.
I would say Vice is supposed to be like the secret news, or like the you know what I mean, like the news you don't need, they don't want you to know.
Is that what it's supposed to be?
Well, it's supposed to. I think it's more like there's a word I'm searching for, and it's like outlaw
underground
news. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like,
sure,
we're gonna go to Liberia and show you like Life's Guide to Liberia and show you that hellhole, or you know what I mean. Like they did a really interesting thing about Republicans in Texas, and I just watched it. It was like a 45-minute thing, and it was just really interesting, and it wasn't super political or like, I mean, I didn't feel like it had a slant. It was just like, here's this information, what do you think of this, you know? So anyways,
they just show is just people shooting tin cans talking about Q, or what's
super hillbillies. Yeah, no, it was like, what's
the underground element to Republicans in Texas?
Yes, exactly. That was what it was. It's like, why do Republicans still like why do Republicans still like Trump even though he lost? And what is it that they're coalescing around? Let's go to like the Republican like stronghold of Texas.
Yeah, because even though he destroyed the Jeb Bush dynasty, future Jeb Bush dynasty,
they still fucking love him.
Past Bush dynasty,
they don't care about that.
They sold out the Bushes.
Yeah, they don't care about
Trump
that.
got in there.
But it's just fascinating to hear what they think and all that stuff.
Back to like what we want for the news.
Sure, yeah.
Like how long do you think it should be? First off, the modern news. We're talking 15 seconds here. We can get all the stories in 15 seconds. It's like TikTok thought process for the news.
So my favorite.
long?
My favorite news broadcast is the PBS NewsHour. It's daily, and for a while, especially during COVID, I was watching that daily.
So you've stumbled upon the correct answer, which is that news should be as long as podcasts are, which is at least an hour. If you have any self-respect as a podcaster,
well, the reason
podcast has to be an hour
is
long.
I think a good news show does not just give you the news. They do deep dives into certain topics, which is why I like PBS. Yeah. Sometimes they don't do into the topics that I want or care about, but they still are like, let's see what life is like for these people in Guatemala who are suffering from this migrant crisis and yada, yada, yada. And it's really showing a spotlight on things that, like, is it newsworthy or not? I mean, like, I don't know, like, you know, that's what I argue is like, is this really newsworthy?
See, this is part of it too.
Pulling at my heartstrings and getting me to feel certain things that you want me to feel, which is something at times why I don't like that. But I love when they do analysis, like the deep dive analysis on current events or politics or, you know.
Let's say the modern news, no crime. How about that? We'll do no crime on it.
Ooh, that's tough. Like, because financial
crime,
and, you know. And politics are nothing but crime. So, I mean, how are you going to...
No proving crimes. How about that? It'll only be speculation of
sure.
crime. So it'll only be about crime, but there'll be no provable crimes.
The journalism classes I took, it was all, if it bleeds, it leads, man. And that's how it's been for the eternity of newspapers, right? Like, my main thing is, I think the worst thing to happen to news was the commodification, the capitalization of news, right? The idea that it became an advertising platform for people, and then it became like had to
do with the networks, right? The fact that the 3 networks.
Yeah, and they were making so much money off of it, and then CNN became this cable news, and so then they had to sell blocks of advertising for a news channel. So you have to make people tune into the news. Anchorman too does a really great job of kind of talking about this issue, which sounds ridiculous, but it's really too now
you're getting to art as a lie to tell the truth. You're getting to the next one here. How about this? Give me one thing in the modern news that you want to be there that does not exist in conventional news. Give me a fresh idea. Let's say we're sitting down. It's Hollywood. Okay. We got a meeting. Things are exciting. I'm happy to meet you. I'm watching the podcast on Spotify. I'm excited. I'm getting hot under the collar with excitement, not with anger. And you're going to give me a fresh idea for the news. Matt, what do you have for us?
It's not fresh, and it's not really original, but I think, and I don't... I want more positivity, but I don't want just fucking puppy dogs or this person was adopted. I want here's some substantial goals we as humanity have met recently. You talked about crime. Well, let's talk about the crime statistics that actually have fallen, right? Let's not talk about how crime is up. I mean, we can talk about that because it's a true thing, but let's focus hey, look at this, So
we can get started with a positive element.
And I would love...
How would you do it?
More community-based news. I would love people to take more responsibility for their own communities. The 3-mile radius around you. Some sort of service. That was always an app where it was regionally based. So people were their own fucking, nosy Parkers can put their information in here, but it keeps you up to date with neighborhood shit.
I got it.
I guess that's interesting. I don't
know. On the Today Show, when they go to Roker for the weather, and then he goes to the local weather person to tell you what's going on in your neck of the woods, so to exactly speak. We'll do that, but with data from next door.
Yeah.
We'll take some sort of community-based social network, and we'll scrape the info off there and just have some computer read it off, 20 seconds into the broadcast.
Come on, yeah.
You hear about some macro thing, some Biden-ism that occurs in the week.
Just right.
And then you cut to the algorithm from next door saying there's a Girl Scout troop selling cookies at the corner of whatever, trying to,
I don't know,
call out local events or. But I was gonna say something terrible, there was a shooting at that. I'm wait, this is supposed to be positive. Hold on. So foreign.
A shooting was stopped by a local hero puppy. I don't know. It's hard though because news, I feel has become so vilified. You know what I mean? The free press, which used to be a bastion of things, has become so, murky mucked where people are how do we fix how terrible this is? We can't get real information out anymore, How
about we have news that is just doing corrections of the other news programs from the week. It's the ultimate negative news show about the other news programs. So it's negativity about the most negative shit in the world.
Right.
It could kind of feel positive in a way. Yeah. Pointing out the way they're being too down on things.
It was actually 50 people in that building collapse, not 20. There was actually 50 people that died. No, you know what I mean? Hey, they tried naked news, try to get people up with that. I think that's an interesting gimmick.
There you go. Let's just go over some quick gimmicks. I think that would be helpful.
Let's do
the
gimmicks.
naked news was a big one.
Naked news, quick news. People here's 30 seconds of news. Blah, 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 and they give you the real quick snapshots of news.
We're probably going to see even more of that.
Yeah,
to be honest.
TikTok. I was listening to something. They were talking about TikTok news and how people were trying to get their too much information. So I wanted bite-sized news stories that are easily digestible and blah blah blah, without politicization or over-analysis with a bent. Here's just facts. This happened today.
let's very quickly create two shows. One that is like flat,
Totally
unpoliticized,
gimmicky.
center of the road, and
Right.
one that is so echo chambery, it's like terrifying. Or even like the headline scroller on the bottom is reading tweets from like your own friends,
So-
and just feeding your own
Wow.
in-group bullshit like back at you,
Oh my God.
reinforcing whatever it is you already believe.
Well, the new show would start with a back and forth between two people on the opposite sides, right? Talking about like a nonsense issue that doesn't really matter, that doesn't pertain to that day's news, but it's just a thing to work you up, right? That's how you start it, so you're all jazzed up throughout the thing. And then you slowly work you back down until the end, and then you do something like horrible to like work you back up. So you leave feeling like totally empty. And then
you're kind of describing the Tim Dillon show, which is what we're going to talk about next.
Oh,
By the
really?
way, well, the way he like brings up like a
Yes,
topical thing
true,
or
yeah.
like a big thing in the headlines, kind of gets more and more abstract and whittles it down, and then infuses it with something else that's been going on, like more of a macro thing, and then ends with like the intensity again.
and that's fucked up. But I was gonna add, the last thing you got to do is to really leave on a high note. Is just end with like real climate news. Just talk about what's going on in the climate to really leave people with a deep sense of anxiety and
We're not going to do weather,
unsurety. Yeah,
just climate news.
just climate. No, just
It'll be
and it's
macro weather.
yeah,
basically.
just trends and how the trends from like 10, 15 years are totally fucked up, and how hot it is. And just like really scare people.
So speaking of like news fads, or how about graphics? Like, should we have like super sports centery, like robotic,
Absolutely.
like futuristic,
Absolutely.
shifting, silver and titanium looking graphics?
You want robots holding your graphics up? I was just thinking like Atlas, just really muscly men like holding up graphics, like just like really crazy stuff
Yeah.
like that. Real like dystopian type shit, So like you're like just staring at the man and you're not looking at the horrible statistics that he's presenting you,
Yeah, and then if you're one of the people who can't actually listen or read, you can just like look at the shiny shit. Voila.
That's me. Nah, scroll past. Nah.
These are all fantastic options. These are all things that we're going to work out. Other things for the news, something you want to cut. I mentioned something you want in there. How about something you want to for sure cut from the news?
Man, I don't know.
How about how many people? How many people should be at the table? Two people?
I like the one. I like the one person, and then going off to like different like spots, having different people with different classifications. Again, I just really like.
I'm putting you on the spot for all this, so I just.
Well, it's funny because I watch a lot of news, so I love news. So this is great. But like NewsHour, I really like NewsHour. How she kind of is at the command center, and she's like, "We're gonna go to Amna Navas, who was our correspondent here," and you're familiar with all the rest of the players, and they have their specialties, right? But she's like the commander, right? And like she's the face, the one that you're going back to, that like for the comfort, blah blah blah. Because I think ultimately for a news person, a caster, you want somebody that is approachable, friendly. You don't want somebody that's like you can't relate to, that you feel like you can't trust.
You're cracking the code here.
You want to be able to trust the news source.
So following the two branches, what is the person that we're going to use for the general? Like, should we just use Justin Bieber's face for like the world news because everyone's like comforted and happy to see his face?
Who's a more comforting? Patrick Stewart. We should have Patrick Stewart do the news.
Even better.
Someone like a grandfatherly
Trusted,
figure,
right.
Who just this guy's so charming. Okay, and he can deliver you this news with like heart and warmth, but you really are like, oh, that's serious. I need to make sure I like pay attention to this stuff.
Like a silver trust.
Yeah, exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
And then the one that's built off of like algorithms and your friend's Twitter
Yeah,
feed.
Tim Dillon. Yeah, Tim Dillon.
That's going to be the face of either your favorite comic, or I was going to say even better, just
Mad
scrape
Gates.
face. Yeah, possible. Scrape Facebook data and just like take your closest friends.
Oh, sure.
And then, like make a composite of two or three of their faces, and then you'll just trust it for some reason, but not exactly know why.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Somebody that's just it makes it just so similar to you. You know whatever I mean? Like here you go. Like they did for Zootopia, the movie Zootopia. So they did region-based anchors. So in like Canada was like a moose, for like Africa was like a zebra, for China was a panda. So like each place got one. So for everybody on Facebook would have an algorithmic news anchor, and they'd have like a cast of like a bunch. So whether you were just like a white guy, you get a white guy, you get a black guy, you get a black guy, you get, what I mean, whatever your algorithm pushes you for, it has a person specifically that you're like, yeah, that guy's got it. But it really, you're just looking at a mirror. You know what I mean? You're just looking at a mirror, and that's why you're so on board with what that guy's got to say.
This brings up another idea I had, which is to have possibly different anchors for different subjects, like subject area experts.
Yeah, that's how they usually do it. You know, our congressional correspondent or our doctor correspondent, you know.
But I was thinking more...
Chief medical, there you go, that's one.
Because like everything seems so biased now.
Fuck yeah.
Or it's so clear that someone's bought off. Like you have the person because everyone's gonna be bought off by something, right? Like you can't let that person talk about the area in which they're totally bought off.
Did you watch the John Oliver thing a couple weeks back?
No, what's that?
He was talking literally about this, and it was about
affiliate marketing and whatnot.
Yes, and about advertising, and it was about advertising and how like the chief medical correspondent, you know, would go on a program that's like, you know, Today Pittsburgh, and she's like, hey, it's me, the chief medical correspondent for Channel 7, and I'm actually advertising this fake product, and it's like because she's a trusted medical professional, so people are buying this product based on the idea that it's, you know, blah blah blah.
In this instance, we can't have the chief medical correspondent talking about health. They have to talk about sports.
Yeah.
So we have to totally throw people off of their pay system.
Right. What do you
expect?
The
way in which they're being paid off.
So when they ask questions like, is this safe? They're really curious because they don't know the answer.
Right. You get some honesty.
Right. Because they got CTE from being a sports person their entire life. So then when they ask medical questions, you know.
Yeah, we're also gonna have the sports person doing the medical advice.
Right. You gotta have like everybody who's not. Yeah, right. Like everyone's the exact opposite of what they're really doing.
That might fly because then if the sports person doing medical gets a little out of control, then the medical person doing sports can kind of get him back a little bit. You know what I mean? There's that one-to-one accountability a little bit.
Exactly.
Like, don't fuck up my category, I won't fuck up yours.
Yeah.
And that kind of keeps
sports ball today. You know, like. And then you'd actually get no news, right? You get no news. Everyone would be like, what is this? You know.
Okay, so we mentioned using the algorithm so people would be most amenable to the message. Should we maybe do an audio-only news so that you can't actually bias the coverage based on what the person looks like?
BBC World Service, baby. Love that one.
Floating vapor.
It's great.
In the air without an actual human bodily form or entity.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's what it was for fucking, you know, however many years the radio existed. It was just radio news, right? You get your news on the radio.
Oh, I thought you meant the vapor. Like, that's how Bob Costas used to do the Olympics.
I got my medical vapor, news vapor.
He was an ethereal floating vapor.
Bob Costas. That guy's funny to me. I don't know. I just like that guy.
Bob Costas will not be doing sports on our news.
No.
He'll be the chief
political correspondent.
I was going to say at least the chief gender equity specialist.
Oh, yeah. Gender equity.
We'll bump him up to political director.
Women's studies, obviously. Politics, you know, which is very close to sports, you know what I mean? But just different.
Different battlefield, yeah. Similar tactics.
It's blood sport. as George Carlin liked to say, it's blood sport.
We don't have to stay on the news all day.
I love talking about news, though. I think it's fascinating. Honestly, this is like a great topic. I mean, I think it's really important to even just talk about it. I mean, obviously, it's not like we're going to make, you know, any real change. The news is just...
Whoa.
Sorry.
Whoa.
Yeah. Pulling the cart before the horse. Who knows?
This could be chopped up. We could be watching this on John Oliver next week. You never know.
These fucking people. Yeah.
That was good. That was pretty fucking good.
I've been watching a lot of John Oliver. Rat erotica, I think it's just important to talk about it. I mean, I wish people would research their news more. I wish people, I'm in a journalism class. I feel like I have a good sense of what I'm reading, right? I know what I'm reading. I know when I get an article, I know generally like where it's from, blah, 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 what my news digestion. I feel like I know what I'm digesting. So many fucking people don't. And it's like
I don't fully. Like,
you don't think so?
Not.
I would give you credit. I think you do for the most part.
Sometimes you don't know whether someone is emphasizing a certain topic over and over again because it's just easy for them, because they have a profit motive. You don't know when someone is kind of committing the sin of omission of never bringing something up because they have a personal connection.
So that's why I read everything. So I'll read I'm not even kidding. Like I'll read like 3 different articles on the same topic because I want to know like what I missed out of the BBC article and then the CNN and then like Axios has got something, and I'll see what I'm missing out of this.
I'm glad you give the examples.
I'm like of like this Biden meeting with the Queen or something like that, of what each person or each group like talked about, like I will really do that. I love Axios. I think it's pretty, I think it's a little left leaning, but for the most part you're just getting facts, you know what I mean? Like anyways, But yeah, I'm a person who will do that. I will analyze my news sources. I will look and see what's true or false or all that shit.
What if you? Do you have a? I mean, as most trusted person in news, since you feel like you know your sources.
I do like
my news people that I'm most confident.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. Who'd you
I
say
feel like they're all
first?
satirists because they're all making fun of everything. Were you gonna say a comedian or no?
My first thought was comedians. I thought of comedians, but then I was like, no, I want to give a real answer. So it would be Judy Woodruff of the PBS NewsHour. I feel like I trust her and all that stuff. And Yamiche Alcindor, who's the White House correspondent, who was back in the day was always the one giving Trump the business. You know what I mean? But not really giving him the business, but was just like, no, answer my question or blah, 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 blah. And I always just appreciated her no nonsense thing. And how barely controlled her rage was when she would report on him and he'd be bullshit. She'd just be so fucking professional, but she'd be doing it in a way I was like, you know what I really think about this whole fucking shit, but I'm going to be as professional as possible, blah, blah, blah. You know, but I just liked her. I liked her. She's realness. I like all those ladies. Randy made fun of me. She didn't make fun of me, but we were watching it for like election night and it was PBS NewsHour. She's like, Matt, do you realize like all of these newscasters are women that you're listening to? And I was like, I didn't. But they are. All of them were women. Like the whole newscast was all women, but they were all good and professional, and I like what they have to say, so I had no idea. But I'd say her. But who would you say comedian-wise? Who would be your trusted news source?
Well, I feel like a lot of times I trust the news coming off of like single person podcasts the most because I can account for the bend in their specific lens. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like it's not coming from a whole slate of executive producers and media creators.
Would you say like
you brought up John Oliver?
Yeah.
Which I feel like hits home, like that sort of thing. I'm more of a Bill Maher person than a John Oliver person, which speaks to my old manness in a sense. Obviously, he's got the whole...
Yes. I love him. I love both of them very much.
He's got kind of a crotchety attitude that he comes up with things, but obviously he has a lot of good takes.
I think Bill Maher is my favorite opinionist. I love his analysis sometimes of events. When he was talking about Lin-Manuel Miranda apologizing for his whole In the Heights thing and blah blah blah.
What did he apologize for? We don't have to go into it. I'm sorry.
Sure, no, it was he didn't have enough like Afro Puerto Ricans. Like people weren't dark enough, and he didn't have enough. Cultural representation of even like a smaller group, and he bent over backwards and he apologized, and Bill Maher was just like, what is wrong with you? Like, why can't we just like... And I just see both sides. I just appreciated
that's why I like Bill Maher,
his bent on it,
just him saying what's wrong with you to people.
Right, because and he does a good thing. He's a liberal, which is I think is showing the mirror back at liberals. It's like, no, I'm one of you, but you guys are fucking crazy sometimes. Like you're lane basing Lin-Manuel Miranda, who is obviously hugely influential culturally right now, bringing his culture specifically to the forefront, and you're gonna like give him shit for like not doing it hard enough instead of just celebrating. You know what I mean? It's like Bill Maher sometimes just hits the nail on the head, unless he goes after comic books, in which case I think he's an old fuck who doesn't know what he's talking about.
Then he's out of
He
touch.
went hard after comic books, and I did not watch them for like 3-4 months.
Matt, what is wrong with you?
No. Yeah. Well, it's because he's just an old guy. He's like, and then his defense of Hugh Hefner, which I thought was really interesting.
I can't keep up with these subtleties. So similar feelings with Colbert. I feel like Colbert used to do the Republican
Jon Stewart, man. I miss Jon Stewart.
People miss Jon Stewart big time.
So bad.
This could actually bring us to our next topic, Tim Dillon, of the Tim Dillon Show, if you haven't heard.
He's okay. He's a pig.
Matt and I are interested in him. We're just studying him.
Yeah.
He's like a figure.
Yeah.
Like any sort of... He's not a female news anchor, so obviously you don't take him seriously.
I don't trust him.
Yeah.
I don't trust him worth a damn.
As you shouldn't. But definitely a show where he's lying the entire time, but it kind of feels like he's reporting on real things the entire time. That's the easiest way I can like quickly summarize it is he's like never being genuine, but he's always telling the truth.
He's genuinely always not being genuine.
Right.
Like
it's very much like Colbert in a way. The old Colbert where like he was never being genuine, but he always was being genuine. It's this amazing magic trick.
He's constantly like not contradicting himself, but he's like so like pick fights with nothing. You know, he's so good at
Yeah.
ranting, and you can tell sometimes he doesn't really care about what he's ranting, but he's so good at doing it.
He does contradict himself.
You know, but he does, and he'll just say, you know what I mean, like
He'll make an insane, intense point in one direction and then instantly realize how ridiculous it is and then start arguing the other side of it.
yeah, he's just such a I would say generational voice. I particularly love his voice.
He's been coming up a lot. I've heard a lot of people singing his praises, and I almost like it's steeped in like a Trump thing to some degree. Like he tells it like it is.
For sure. No,
and we're
yes.
like looking for these type of characters.
We've talked about that on this podcast. The
hell is
authenticity of it. The authenticity.
Is that
of it?
it?
He's very authentically bullshitter. He's just a good authentic bullshitter. Like he's saying enough truth within the bullshit to be like, well, yeah, I believe him, because you know he takes shots at everybody. He's not one-sided. You know, even though he's very like, I don't know, he just takes shots at everybody. He shits on the Clintons all the fucking time, but he's not like, he's like QAnon's kind of crazy, but he's a big conspiracy theorist, right? You know, he's a little bit of everything to everybody. He's gay, which I think is so fascinating.
Yeah.
That he's just like, I just a part of him, right? It's just this weird quirk, you know, where he can't find love, you know, which is a part of his like anger. You know what I mean? He gets angry about it. He was talking about that a couple podcasts ago. You could just see he was seething that he can't like find a person for himself, you know?
I think one of the reasons he's so popular is because he sounds as angry as a lot of us feel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's just that base level emotion that is under the surface for some of those CNN anchors, but you never quite see. It's always like glazed over or packaged in some sort of disingenuous way.
Right.
But he's like baldly pissed about something, even though he really doesn't care about that thing. But the fact that he's baldly pissed, you're like, okay, but that's good. I feel like that's right. Or
Right.
That's...
And his voice is so unique. Not like his actual voice, but I mean like the things he says. Like his voice is unique, but I mean just like
the timbre? Those little the crackles and the inflections.
God. The up and down, and then the down, and then he gets really, you know, and then
yes or yes.
Yeah.
Yes or yes. Is that not how he speaks? Kind of on?
Yeah. And then when he tries to pop Ben, he's just trying to get Ben to laugh, which I really enjoy when he's just he's literally just trying to get him to laugh. You know, he's got an authentic voice, and it's whatever you say about it, it's a perspective, and it's like you know, he's got a thing.
So he's got the angry, tells it like it is type angle, which seems to be a big theme.
Oh yeah,
in trusted voices.
People love
Trump,
Bill Hicks. You know, like
comedians, Joe Rogan, his podcast, right? Like, you mentioned some of the intersectional, I guess you want to call it that, elements, like the fact that he is a white male, but he's not the straight white male. He's a gay white male.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now that's kind of like politically scrambling in some ways.
No, it is, right, because he's saying very like conservative things, but he's also very social. He's pretty socially liberal, but he just loves stirring the fucking pot wherever he goes. You know what I mean? And the thing is, wherever he stirs, you believe it. Whatever he's stirring, if he's stirring the left pot, you believe it. If he's stirring the right pot, you still believe it. You know what I mean?
One thing I think is interesting is he's constantly steeped in conspiracy theories and talking about people in positions of power, but then he's simultaneously obsessed with like wealth.
Oh yeah, getting to that
and
spot.
High society, and it's just this insane sort of hypocrite. You know, it's this thing that America has in it where we simultaneously shit on people at the very top, but then see ourselves in that position of power.
We want it so bad. We want to be, we're those happy, embarrassed, not millionaires. We all want to be millionaires. He wants to be a millionaire so bad and have all the money and the prestige to have all that good, nice food, but he always keeps fucking it up. And just like all Americans, we're so angry that we can't just quite get it together, you know? The idea, and like people talk about it. He was talking to Whitney about it. He's talked to like a couple of people, but like people love when he fails. He has this knack for always coming in at the end of stuff. You know, the subprime mortgage thing, he talks about that.
Yeah, I've heard
you
that.
know, moving to New York, everybody moved out to LA, and then he moved to LA, and then he moved to Austin, and then he moved to Austin, and he fucking hates it. You know, it's a miserable. So as long as he's miserable, he's putting out great content. You know what I mean? He's got it. And like, I don't know, I feel like lately with his podcast, he like doesn't really want to do it. You can like tell he's like kind of like, I don't know if I want to, you know, he just seems like he's just there sometimes with the glasses, the shades on, you know what I mean? He's very, you know, he is real. He's like a real person. You know, I don't feel like I'm buying like a put upon mask or somebody who's trying to be something else.
I know, and that's amazing because, again, I think he's constantly lying.
Doing that,
so
right.
It's
yeah.
this incredible phenomenon where he's fucking never being totally straight with you, totally honest with you, but he constantly seems like he is, right?
Yeah.
Another element with his show specifically is how he's sober. And he's been clean and sober for 10 years.
I think that is fascinating, yeah.
And he is able to call out like all these phenomena, especially in American culture, about people just being drugged or shit-faced or just affected at all times. And he's able to do it with like the viciousness and understanding of someone who has had who's
been an addict,
experiences,
right.
but is now clean and sober. And isn't somehow always co-opting the, consumption of alcohol every single night as a way to deaden your aspirations and future dreams.
I feel like that helps him and it enhances his anger, his whole... He kind of
has that power.
What I mean? Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's been on that side of the fence and he sees how many people like are currently on that side of the fence and can speak just brutally about it.
And how crazy that is for him. Yeah, exactly. And it sounds like he was pretty bad. He was really into cocaine. He had a big cocaine addiction. That was his whole thing, It's like, but now he's on the other side of that. And it's not, and I don't think he's like, I'm so sober. He's just like always, I shouldn't say always, but he's, in fact, I feel like it wasn't him that I found out he was sober. Somebody was talking to him about him being sober. And it wasn't like he was like on a high hill about it. You know what I mean? But like you said, just the way he talks about other people's problems or issues, he just does it from such a place of honesty and understanding that you're like, okay, yeah, I get it,
It's rare you have someone who's so comfortable with that lifestyle, but then is in a position of power enough to talk about it.
Right, absolutely.
Because usually, people don't always ascend.
No, yeah, you don't always
mired in their own demons.
Yeah, absolutely. Or you keep repeating the same mistakes, right? Like you can't get, like he's got 10 years sober and he's 30, 36, 37. Yeah. So he got it in his late 20s, and the fact that he's stuck with it and then it's enhanced his abilities. You know what I mean? Like I think it's made him better. Throughout, I don't think he could reach the success he did. You know what I mean? And I think he's talked about that. Like he just.
Oh yeah, no, he's constantly, even with other people's failings, he's like talking about how they're shit faced or they're like drunk or on drugs or something. Like he'll be the first one to call that shit out because of course he can bring up his cokehead stories.
Yes,
like I used to be on coke, whatever the fuck.
Right.
So it's almost like he's more willing, I think, than someone even from a baseline level would be to point out like the drug and alcohol phenomenon that's interwoven with so many different occurrences.
I was worse than this guy, but this is still a piece of shit situation, Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, anyway, an interesting assortment of elements that he's got going on over
Again,
there.
that goes with them, like you said, he's a gay, white, sober,
Irishman,
conservative, like borderline conservative conspiracy theorist. He has so many different fucking like. It's like what? How is this?
The conservative thing too. It also seems like he's just pretending to be a conservative.
It's part of it's part of his like. Yeah, absolutely. He knows how to stir the pot. He knows those conservative people will view his stuff more too.
Well, there is this phenomenon. It feels like in media where people. Kind of like this is like the Joe Rogan thing.
Yeah,
I kind of ended up, I think, acting more conservative, I think, than he really is because he's trying to play to middle America a little bit. And Tim Dillon, just being honest, is a little bit of like an opportunist.
100%.
I mean,
100%.
He hosted the Bitcoin convention. I'll leave it at that.
Got a Bitcoin out of it.
He got a Bitcoin out of it.
He talks about that. He's got 1 Bitcoin and 5 Ethereum to the moon, he says. That's so funny.
But like going on the podcast with Alex Jones, having like Candace Owens on his show.
But he legit loves Alex Jones. He grew up on Alex Jones.
He does.
Like he's talked about it, how he was there when they did the Joe Rogan and all 3 of them. I watched that. And he talks about how he grew up on it. He would be listening in high school to Alex Jones like ad nauseum. So that in and of itself is a pretty fascinating thing if you see how not similar to Alex Jones he is, but he's similar to Alex Jones.
He's the next incarnation. I think it's hard to deny that.
It is, and then I just love the way he talks about conspiracy theories. He talks about it like a millennial talks about them, not like the way a fucking boomer talks.
It's part
about
of his.
I hate boomer. But anyways.
As he does too.
Yeah,
as he does too, and he hilariously slams boomers. But that's definitely like part of his brand, because even his Patreon, it is the Skull and Bones and the Rothschilds are his like Patreon levels. So he's definitely like wading in this conspiracy America
when he talks
phenomenon.
When he talks about conspiracies, he's knowledgeable. He's fucking knowledgeable.
Do you think there are going to be these podcasts that get big that don't take one of those lanes, like that's able to Joe Rogan, I'm hard not to bring that up. He's got like the alien, the UFO behind him that's signaling like, oh, I think different. Oh, I'm willing to come to different conclusions. Same thing with Alex Jones, Alex Jones. You can see that it's already happening here. Tim Dillon having the different Patreon pages steeped in the Rothschilds lore, right?
I think podcasts have to find a niche audience. You're not on a giant network going to millions of people. You find your niche audience and you try to grow that and grow that and grow that. And I think that's what, Rogan's UFO episodes are some of the most watched episodes on his podcast.
Right.
And I think Spotify knows that and they lean hard into that. And I think they're trying to get more UFO people to come on because those are the episodes of Joe Rogan I listen to. You know what I mean? Like
it's open land he can dominate, really, because the mainstream won't touch it.
Right. And that's the thing. He's giving mainstream attention to, people that, don't always have it, But I think Tim Dillon, he knows his lane. He knows that conspiracy theories are fascinating and people are super, super into them right now. And I think that is what's gotten him to where he's gotten to is talking about that kind of stuff. I think it's a niche industry, podcasting. I think once people find their lane and you want to stick in that lane, I'm sure some people vary and go in and out, blah, 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 and try to do different. But like you got that audience that's looking at you for this stuff, Your Mom's House audience is looking at them for a very specific thing,
Yeah.
They don't want news from Your Mom's House. You want to watch fucking videos of guys getting horribly disgusting videos,
Gross guy videos.
Yeah, gross guy videos.
If you could break it down some way. No, I don't know. Yeah, how it's going to work out long term if this is just currently like a land grab type thing where CBS isn't willing to talk about this area, so you can accumulate a whole listenership just by hitting up that area.
Yeah,
I don't think my future is gonna be in an area where I'm constantly listening to conspiracy theorists. Because I think generally there's a reason that shit isn't being brought up. It's because it's unproven, unfounded, and a lot of times a waste of time for people to hear about. Because it could be. In the information age, like bad information or untrue information, it's very expensive.
We missed a lane for the news. Our new show should be Conspiracy Corner, and they're just in the segment of the news that we don't really have any facts, but we talked to some people and here's some rumors we heard. And it's just conspiracy theories, not based in fact at all, just steeped in opinion and what people think. And here's some conspiracy theories. That's some news for you.
YouTube show called Whispers, and it's just what
Whispers.
People heard.
Yeah, no, that goes... Okay, so that is the deal, though, right? People are looking at conspiracies because they don't trust mainstream news. They don't think that mainstream news is telling them everything. So they're looking for guys like Tim Dillon who are in the know with conspiracies and that can tell them the real fucking truth,
Right.
The secret history that Judy Woodruff is not telling me. Tim Dillon knows. Tim Dillon knows all about the Clintons and all their murderers and all that shit, right? And he knows all about, what's going on in Epstein Island and Ghislaine Maxwell. Free Ghislaine,
See, actually with the opportunist thing, when I brought up him and Alex Jones, his shirt on that show is what I thought of more than him talking to Alex Jones.
Yeah.
The fact that he wore a Free Ghislaine shirt on like the biggest podcast in the world with like the most polarizing person in the world.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. He knew what he's doing.
Clearly just inflaming the hell out of people, whatever.
Free Ghislaine, and then they were like, what's this guy, blah, 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 right?
Once the conspiracy thing gets saturated, though, I'm just wondering where we end up, really, because...
Oh, I'm so concerned. I'm so wondering. Okay, so like...
Honesty is the only way forward.
Yeah.
Right?
But we're seeing right now, so comedy conspiracy theories are going on with vaccines, right? All these conspiracy theories. So we were just talking about that, how people are buying these conspiracy theories. They're not buying what the media is telling them because the media is a liar, even if they're just trying to get out facts. So these people that are only believing conspiracy theories are not getting vaccinated. And it's only like they're more and more stubborn, this percentage of people, right? There's nothing like, how do you reach these people? I can't remember if I said it on the podcast or I said it before, but it was like they asked a bunch of non-vaccinated people, what would it take to get you vaccinated? Would it be sitting with your doctor, talking to your doctor? And it was something like, 50% said maybe. Then it was like, would it be an endorsement from a celebrity? Would it be taking time off of work? And I think there's like a third option. And it was like nothing. None of the options were going to convince somebody to get vaccinated. And it's a lot of that's due to the mistrust of news, the consumption of nothing but conspiracy theories. And when you said truth is the answer, they're denying the truth because people's perceptions of realities becoming their truth. Reality is perception, perception is reality.
I will argue there's this current media machine, though, that's proliferating the bullshit stories.
Yes.
And the fluffed up or just the stuff that's just not true. Dominion voting fraud and
Facebook.
Trump should have won.
Well, Facebook, which is an outside,
it's being allowed. It's being allowed right now. And I don't think it's going to, it's definitely not going to exist in this fashion forever. So I would curious how things will seep in. Options for and ideas for getting people vaccine information. Maybe that like little TV screen that comes on at like a Shell gas station when you're pumping your gas. Maybe they should put like vaccine data there somehow.
I think that until people actually have somebody in their life that has it very badly, they're not going to do anything about it.
Speaking your language, they need to make WWF GIFs where it's like someone doing a pile driver, but it's like on top of a vaccine needle.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of funny. It's like kind of something you've seen, kind of a joke GIF, but it's also like making you associate the good feelings with vaccines somehow, like incepting people in some way.
Oh yeah, you got to incept people in this vaccine. That'd be the way to do it, is incept people in the vaccine. It's just crazy how, 15, 20 years ago, everybody would have lined up for the vaccine. We would have had a vaccination rate of like 75, 80%. We would have hit herd immunity. Oh, and it was just like, another thing was, another graph that I was seeing about this was showing the counties, the unvaccinated counties, and it was like, based on who voted for Trump and who voted for Biden, and you just saw like all of the unvaccinated counties were red counties. It was just like,
it's a red media thing more than it is a red politics thing. You could argue what's the difference, but there's too many brands to be built on the backs of disinformation. Tucker Carlson's show every night is like troll shit.
Yep.
Like the troll phenomenon will not last forever. It's fucking exhausting.
Honestly,
it's really tiring.
It will only.
I give the troll thing another year.
Maybe
it dies when Trump gets it goes up for election again or something and then doesn't win. There has to be maybe a precipitating moment, but the troll thing has got to end at some point.
I don't think so. I just think you just saw two of the biggest trolls, Jake Paul, do the boxing fight. And that was the biggest boxing fight. So, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of trolls. I don't think this troll phenomenon is going anywhere.
I know, but it's not going to be alternate realities. They're just going to have to be compelling enough characters in the new narrative. And I think with a different mainstream acceptance of troll culture, their power is going to go away. Once you can get the UFO talk on the front of the New York Times, or once they throw that in their opinion page or whatever, however it starts getting disseminated in a different way, it totally takes the punch, right? Like you can, and you do end up getting this.
Well, let's take the Q conspiracy, right? So HBO did like a 6-part documentary completely exposing who Q was, right? The originator of it, and how it was all fucking bullshit. And people are still buying it. And they literally have, here's proof, here's truth, here's the whole thing.
Yeah.
And people are still saying no. And the guys come out and said, like, I was Q. Like, here's my proof, here's my receipts that I was Q. And people are still not accepting that. Like, how, so I'm just, there's just, I think, a percentage of the population that is just set in their ways.
But they're not accepting that, I feel like, at least because they're still watching their InfoWars or whatever equivalent that it's telling them not to believe.
They're alternate realities that they don't want to leave.
HBO's owned by Time Warner, right. Which is a major conglomerate type company.
I think people, I think until we, as long as social media exists in its current form, we are not going to get out of the troll culture. Troll culture will not exist. As long as Twitter exists, troll culture will not disappear. As long as we have Twitter and Facebook and all this to keep people in their bubbles,
dude.
I think this is the new reality. I don't think this is like a passing craze. I think this is the new reality. Anonymous trolling is the way of it. And now it's becoming so popular. We had a troll president, like we talked about. And that is only confirming how it's happening.
How about this? Something like The Onion, right?
Sure.
Like a fake news source. How many like The Onions are there? There was The Onion. There was the Daily Current, right? Was one that kind of popped up.
Beaverton, that's the one from Canada.
There's a few
Beaverton.
of them. But there's not like a whole slew of fake news networks.
No.
Right?
Comedy news, comedy, like silly comedy news like that, yeah.
Even though that you could literally come up with anything. Like you could create, and it's fiction. You can come up with any number of storylines for that. in a way that lane gets taken and then people kind of move on from it. Because if you want...
Sure, but that comedy is totally different than I think from social and political leanings, right? Comedy's comedy. So like, it's like either funny or it's not funny. Like people are talking about like abortion and like these like fundamental feelings that they have, and they wrap that up into their news now. You know what I mean? And it's not like it's not your feelings about abortion and race and critical race theory that now influences what your news is, right? Like that's the way you're getting your news from, is that like how I feel about this is why I'm watching Tucker Carlson. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
I don't want to underestimate some of the forces that could totally derail some of the things in place that feel inevitable. For instance, you mentioned Twitter or social media. Like if they just start putting the orange banner on anything that's total bullshit, they just start flagging it.
I wish.
And you can still consume.
Yeah, sure.
But then every time you read this orange bannered thing, it starts to change how you feel about it. Like if the troll culture kind of starts getting flagged.
Yeah.
If the people that are trying to be media opportunists or something, if their power is taken away, not by them being put off the platforms, but just by the correct light being shown on their content.
If the giant tech media companies decide,
people could say big tech. It's huge tech. It's huge tech at this point.
Gigatech. If any of these people decide to actually start policing their fucking platforms,
they already are.
But like actually policing their platforms, not just like lip service stuff. You know.
Well, right now they're doing what they have to do.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
They're like,
there's no teeth in any legislation that's like you need to stop disinformation. You know, active disinformation campaigns that's brought upon by foreign adversaries that are using shit like that to sow discontent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So until you have Facebook actually taking a stand against political disinformation, vaccine disinformation, you know, nothing's going to change, because too many anonymous people can fucking make money and do their bullshit on it. I don't see, Facebook isn't going to police itself. And I don't see that legislation or the government really trying hard enough to push them in a direction that is safer for everybody, you know?
It definitely has to be the will of the people or something else in the ecosystem in which they exist. I mean, if it's the shareholder profit motive,
right,
as to whether or not they're going to be taking content down or
which
stopping
like
the connection on the network, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, because they're making too much money. So why are we stopping? We're making too much money on the advertisements. That was like a huge thing.
Government intervention, simple as that. I mean,
all these political PACs buying Facebook money and Facebook ads, and then, you know, just playing like, oh well, Russia gave them like something like $1 billion, and it was like they put all these ads for the election, and they got the money from fucking Russia, and you know what I mean? And how it's just, I feel like I'm kind of mixing things up a little bit.
That's all right,
but
that's the point of the show.
Yeah.
So Tim Dillon, he could host Meet the Press. Yes or no?
Yes or yes. Yes or yes. Tim Dillon, great Meet the Press host or greatest Meet the Press host?
No, but once people like Tim Dillon are hosting Bill Maher's show, once Tim Dillon has a Sunday night spot on HBO, like the way his content feels changes. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Once the Tim Dillon fans become the boomers, then there's a generational shift. I'm not saying this stuff is going to resolve quickly.
Yeah,
but in terms of the troll culture, not to say Tim Dillon is even a troll, but in a way he is putting on the skin, at least for comedic effect often. Once what that means to us changes, it itself changes. Mm-hmm. And it happens, it seems like it happens really slowly, but then it happens really fast.
And then it's just changed, yeah.
American audiences are extremely fickle.
Yeah, look at the culture now, like with just political correctness, all this stuff that, you know, 5-6 years ago we were saying things and doing things, and how quickly we've all decided like things just can't do things like that anymore. You know, I hope that you're right, and that people take more responsibility for spreading bullshit.
I don't even want to make it seem like it's a righteous thing, like people are going to stand up and take responsibility. I think it's more likely that people are going to be fucking embarrassed.
You're right. Yeah, because people
by
don't
sharing something with an orange banner on it.
People don't.
It's not always like the positive element of mood or the good feeling and reaction in someone's brain. It's the shame or whatever that'll will scramble their troll circuits.
Yeah,
and. You know, God knows, I hope it's someone gets a job and they get active in society, and that is what pulls them out of the Q conspiracy, because they actually have some agency and some meaning. I hope it's a positive thing, because just as easily be someone who on Tinder is getting swiped in the wrong direction because their Tinder profile is flagged because they're sharing QAnon stuff with everyone that they talk to on Tinder. There are systems that could totally fuck with the way we currently think about this stuff.
I was actually that you just totally made me think of that. That's somebody's talking about that. How people, instead of being able to create anonymous what do you call it, usernames for everything, it's like your access is logged to you. So you who is posting on yahoo.com or you who's posting to blah blah blah, it's all you, and it all comes back to you. So your name's on everything, so you can't tell, you know, some celebrity like your ass is fat and you're disgusting and like just body shame somebody. It's like, oh no, this is, you know, hey Ralph P. Freely, you know, we see you there, you know, like, so you don't just get to just be a shitbird, you know, an anonymous troll shitbird. You have to take responsibility for the things you say, you know, and like you said, it's not necessarily altruistic motive. It is shame. You do not want the shame, like, oh, this fucking guy's saying all this shit to these people, you know, because your name is your name and that's who you are. And that, of course, people talk about privacy concerns, blah, blah, blah. It's not like a perfect system. But, you know, like you said, hopefully there's something in the future.
No, that's direct accountability.
Direct accountability. People need direct accountability. Direct incentives. From being trolls.
Or how about like maybe there's the emergence of a social network where you can only post 5 times per day, including comments, including happy birthdays, including photo messages. And so if someone is saying anything on this network, it's somewhat valuable to them because there's not this unlimited type anything you want, say whatever you want to any page you follow type culture.
You're limited.
Yeah. And, you know, maybe you don't need the direct social security number in with someone's IP address to see where it's coming from.
No, but, you know, like just more accountability. You know, hey, I am MT Solers. I know you know, that's your name. You know, like it's, I think accountability in the internet is just, hopefully it happens. I mean, I don't know, because I also like the Wild West. I like that the internet's a free Wild West place. You know, I don't necessarily want like the government coming in and like dictating things and starting controlling like that.
I don't either.
I like regulation. I think regulation is important. I don't like overregulation. You know what I mean? I'm not like, you know, let's not. You know, I think net neutrality is important, though. That's a government regulation that I think is important.
Right, and regulation is occurring on all these platforms even by themselves.
Yes.
I know you said like Facebook won't take their stuff down, but if it fucks up engagement, they will. They'll do anything that they can do to keep viewer engagement high.
But I think that's a problem, is a lot of this misinformation is highly viewer engaged, right? So people are like clicking on all of this misinformation more than they click on the real information. So Facebook is not inclined to get rid of it because they're making more money on the clicks.
And this is at the heart of, I think, kind of what we're talking about, is stuff can rise to the top easier if it's more extreme, if it's in an area of what other people are willing to talk about, maybe because it's not true. I'm saying for a lot of it because it's not true. There's a reason it's not being reported on major
secret history,
nightly news.
Secret history. People want that secret history. Whether it's true or false, they want to be on the know. They want to know that they got that little bit of, you know, I know. And because this world's fucking crazy. The world's crazy. So many unanswered questions. They need some form of secret knowledge that will get them through the day, that I know this thing and nobody else, you know what I mean, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not talking about my love of UFOs, okay? I'm not saying that that's, you know, but I'm just saying, you know, you need your little bit that, you know,
we have to find a way in which there can be a world where people have in-groups and have commune with other people.
Yeah.
And have like niche information, because obviously you don't want to become a pro or be totally well versed on everything. People are going to have subject areas they're interested in. So we'll throw a UFO segment on the news show. Okay, it'll be.
That's all I'm asking. Okay, and it doesn't even be UFO. We could just talk about UAPs.
UAPs, excuse me.
You know, just aerial phenomenon that's just unexplained.
Didn't mean to dead name spaceships. I know that's
just shaming it. It's just shame. There's just the connotations with UFOs. I don't care. I'm just kidding.
Let's do the summer piece before it gets too late in the show.
Okay, cool.
What matters this summer? I mentioned it was July 20th. I saw that there's going to be a new Kanye West album out this week. I'm a little excited about that.
I'm kind of excited too.
I guess there's supposed to be a Kanye song in a Beats commercial with Sha'Carri Richardson tonight too.
Really?
You know Sha'Carri Richardson, the Olympian that was tested positive for marijuana?
Yeah. Everyone's favorite Olympian. Everyone's favorite not so quite Olympian.
Right. So the world's most valuable company is having an extradited athlete, not extradited, but excommunicated athlete from the Olympic team with a song by a recent divorcee, Mr. West.
Wow. Yeah, right.
Talk about how living with Kim is him being in jail in Calabasas. No, but I'm just bringing up random shit, like kind of topical things. Oh, he's excited when a new Kanye album comes out. This is a Chicago podcast, so we have to push the Chicago brand.
The people who've heard it though are like apparently like everyone who's heard it is just like, this is fucking wild. There was like, you know, he played it for Kevin Durant, I guess, and Kevin Durant got up and was like dancing, and it was just like, this is the best album I've ever heard. And all these people are saying, if you were about to release an album this summer, do not do it, because Yeezy's album is going to just destroy everybody. And like, why don't do it now? Wait 6 months, you know? And I'm like, wow, that's actually kind of smart, right? Like, you know, he's going to just suck up all the air. He's just going to suck up all the air.
I hope to God it's good. His last album was not good.
Not
this
great.
is someone who has been a Kanye stan for far too long.
I think though, divorcing Kim and, you know, there's been things going on. I think it's fueling this album.
He's got some material.
Yeah.
He's probably been listening to Tim Dillon show. He's got that fervor.
Well, he's got
fire.
that. He's got that God. He's got that God in him. You know, the Sunday service. He's got that God in him now. You know, so he's got something to say. He's got to preach that God.
What if Kanye's new album single-handedly ends troll culture in the United States? That the bars are so fucking vicious.
It's been an hour. Has it? Go home now. No,
Yeah.
I don't want to go home.
I knew we had to wrap it. I knew we had to hit this topic. But if they're so fucking tight and they make trolls feel like such douches, the troll culture ends with a Kanye album.
He really is what he says he is, and he's this generational voice, and he is the Yeezus, and he just everybody comes together for him, and just like, you know, Chicago, everybody puts their guns down in Chicago, and like,
right.
You know, it just, people are just crying in the streets playing it, like, oh god, that'd be the best.
It's able to stop gun violence.
I wouldn't even be mad. I wouldn't be mad that it was him. I'd be like, fuck it, we need this so bad, let's do it.
As entertaining as troll culture is, cannot even be mad that it's going away.
I mean, you hope that with Trump losing, that like that was like the beginning of the end of troll culture, right? His election was the beginning and like the peak, and then his presidency was like the firework, and then now it's over and we're slowly seeing it kind of subside, you know. I hope. But it, you know, I don't know. I didn't really get a chance to do my
oh yeah,
we didn't get onto the topic. I thought we were going to get onto this topic, and we didn't touch the topic. But you did at the beginning in the categories, and then we didn't really go to it. But it was the space race between two billionaires. You know, I thought we were for sure going to talk about
We've
it.
hit that a little before.
We have, though.
We
so
have
that's
talked
why
about it a little before.
I didn't think we were going to do it. But I
want to do that quickly?
The richest men in history, you know, because I was thinking, you know, billionaires, because everyone's talking like, oh, these fucking billionaires, you know, just flaunting their money.
Did you do the adjusted for inflation
Rockefeller
thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, see, and some
because Bezos is a poor man.
Yeah, right.
You know, topically he's doing well.
So
maybe it's a space, but
Andrew Carnegie, if you put his money in for inflation, because he sold the steel company to J.P. Morgan back in the day, for inflation, he would have it was like something like 2% of the GDP of America at the time. Which if now you do it, it'd be like $372 billion.
Damn.
So he's pretty rich.
An immigrant too.
Yeah, right.
Wasn't he?
Yeah,
Rockefeller?
Carnegie. Yeah. So the next bunch of them on the list, I tried to get the top 10, but then the rest of them are all like dictators. So Stalin had technically 9.6% of the global gross domestic product.
Damn.
He was in control of a country that had that much money. So like he would, and because since he was he had, you know, which makes me think about how much money Putin has, by the way. I thought that because, you know, Putin's a trillionaire too, technically, you know, because he's got so much money and so many, you know, there's some people that think he's actually the richest man in the world.
This is why like the Forbes lists and whatnot don't do it fully justice, because they won't go there on some of these things.
Absolutely
and this is why all this media exists that we're questioning, is because there aren't enough of these. Yeah, there you go.
You know, people that, you know, right, they're not really giving you the real news, the Panama Papers, right? Remember that whole thing came out?
Right.
You know, and that journalist, what happened to her? Fucking murdered in a car bomb, you know, but it just kind of went away, you know? Anyways, but that's real true news. That's real true news.
Right.
And people are fucking murdered for it. Like, that's not fluff stuff. That's like, who's got the money, where the money's being kept, you know, all that real nitty gritty shit that was all out there, but like no news was talking about it. And it's still a lot of that Panama paper stuff is out there. Anyways, Stalin's got a lot of money. He's another Akbar who is India. He was like a sultan of India. He had technically 25% of the global gross domestic product at the time of his life. Which is pretty wild, you know, because India was a big spice trader, blah, blah, blah. And since he controlled the empire, Emperor Shenzong of China, he had 30% of the global domestic product, which is insane.
No.
Caesar had 1/5 of the Roman Empire, and he had $4.6 trillion if inflation.
Yeah,
that
but
was,
who wants 4.6 trillion of barley?
Yeah,
or whatever
right,
the
yeah.
hell that.
But just the amount of wealth he had, like as far as wealthiest people, like if you took him in, and then
No, of course, I'm just joking.
the most wealthy guy is this guy Mansa Musa, who I think is from Ethiopia, and he controlled gold mining in Manila, and so they said he's richer than it's possible to describe because of the amount of gold that he had.
When is he from?
He's from it was like 11 something, I think it was 11 something. He's in Civilization. Mansa Musa's in Civilization. He's like a big figure, and like the
game Civilization.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Which is interesting because that's how I never knew he was this successful. But they were talking about how people were in like artisans and people in the culture were trying to present how wealthy he was. So he'd be like in all gold clothes with a gold throne, with a gold scepter, on a gold pedestal, and everything on it would be gold, and like those would be the pictures of him, to show how much wealth he had. And like it was really like unquantifiable because the amount of money his mines were making in gold, just tons of gold. So it's just, you can't really even talk about how wealthy he was. But you know what the thing is, none of these guys been to space.
Yeah, you bring up some interesting points, right? Like what your wealth can also get you in the time period that you have your wealth. Like you could fucking gold plate everything like Trump or this person from 1,000 fucking years ago.
He ruined the economy. They were talking about how when he traveled, he would ruin the economy because they had currency problems because he would buy so much.
Right.
And he could do whatever he fucking wanted. He'd go into a country and completely fuck their country up because he'd have so much gold that it would destroy their currencies and all that stuff, like...
Well, this kind of gets into, too, what wealth really is, which is something that, when deployed differently, actually changes what the value is. For instance, with Bezos, if he, sold all his Amazon stock to be able to cash in and have the wealth, it kind of changes what his wealth is to begin with, and how a lot of these times it is tied up in this relative nature, like how much he spends to go to space now versus how much they're going to spend 10 years from now, and how that'll even feel different once it's been... watered down for the mainstream. Once anyone can do that thing.
That's crazy. That was today too, by the way, in case anybody... Bezos went today to space with the oldest and the youngest person.
You say Bezos?
Bezos.
He's the richest man. You can't even say his name right.
Bezos.
What the hell is the point of all this
Bezos,
money?
Bezos? I don't care. Bezos.
I just know Jeffrey Bezos. It's from the Bo
Bezos.
Burnham special, the
Bezos.
music from Bo. It's the only way I'm able to keep it straight. Otherwise, I'm like, Bezos. I'm sorry, what's your name again? I haven't met.
Richard Branson. That old guy going to space. That's so funny.
No, but that's the main thing I always think of for the space race is like, didn't we do this 20 years ago? Richard Branson was going up there in suborbit 20 fucking years ago. This is like the oldest shit in the world. We're just pretending like this is happening for the first time again. This already happened.
I think it's more...
zero gravity. And, you take some funny photos. It's played on every fucking news show in the country for a whole week.
Zero gravity is different. I mean, but they're just... I think it's more the commercialization of space is coming. And it's closer than ever before. And it's not just NASA with rockets. It's... 2 different companies have now rockets. Plus more is coming. It's just the idea that space is coming closer and closer to our exploration, right? Like humans have the desire to expand, explore, right? Space is becoming closer and closer for us to find that all out.
I am so much more interested in
earthly,
not us getting closer to space, but I think internet connectivity getting closer and closer to us. Starlink and all these projects that are trying to coat the planet in internet coverage. It's going to put 3 billion people online. It's going to double the population, especially the broadband population.
Right. Especially the poorer and rural people, you know what I mean, who have had no internet access, right?
Who is participating. Yeah. So I think it's just going to end up being more reflections on who we are as opposed to, I don't know, super Instagram photos for rich people.
Yeah, I think though that social media is always going to be there, though, man. It's a thing we're just going to have to deal with. Is that preening and the peacocking of social media, and everybody feeling like their voice is just the most important voice, even though mine is the most important voice. Well, ours is the most important.
Set into a high-powered microphone.
I know, that's what I was thinking. As I was hearing it, I was hearing myself say it, and I was like, wow, this is really ironic. So.
We got to go there, though. We got to walk down that egotistical route as humanity. For some reason, it just seems to be the only way it's set up right now. Yeah. One more cap on the Tim Dillon thing.
Let's do
a lesson from the Tim Dillon show. If I could give one, is in something I obviously want to bring to this. Now we're getting self-referential. You're talking about the vanity and recording yourself, whatnot. Listening to the show has made me think more about not being so earnest
Mm-hmm.
and not being so genuine. Like, I feel like I've been afraid because everything is feeling like so dishonest and so fucking fake and phony now.
Yeah.
Like, I've been like afraid to be too jokey or to be too abstract in a sense because I so desperately want things to be honest and authentic. But thinking more in depth about how we are as media consumers now, it kind of feels like we already filter so much ridiculousness in whatever someone's saying. We already filter everything so much when it's coming in through the doors of our ears that we actually don't need, or maybe we don't want people to be as straightforward anymore. Like, we assume everything has an angle.
Yeah.
And we're already like accounting for those elements in listening to things. So maybe it is that the information is more relevant or more powerful, at least, when you say it with more intensity that's maybe further from the truth but closer to the feeling.
I
of
am
the information.
the opposite way. I feel like I've been so bullshitty on this thing for so long. I'm trying to be more real and authentic and not talk from a place where I don't know what I'm talking about, or that overconfidence and like when I'm just, I'm bullshitting. You know, I'll listen to this podcast, be like, you know, like when I hear Tim Dillon bullshit, I like it. But when I hear myself bullshit, I'm like, you fucking fraud. Why you know what I mean? So it's funny you're going the opposite way and I'm going the other way where I'm like, try to be more authentic. Don't say such bombastic, you know, shit that you don't really, you know what I mean? But
Sure.
But you're right though. I think there's a middle ground. You know, we're podcasting. We're obviously recording this. This is for entertainment purposes and for like, you know what I mean? You want to be entertaining, right? And not all entertainment is truth all the time, which, you know, I guess it's ironic.
No, it's exhausting. I mean,
but you
it's
know,
like a spoonful of sugar.
Yeah, right,
thing.
right. So, you know, I could be bombastic and say some crazy shit, and you know, I don't know. I'm not gonna say anything crazy right now, but
We're like 70 minutes in at this point. I think it's the most appropriate time. You want to bury any leads, horrible or insane things to say?
not really. I will agree though that Tim Dillon has made me believe that the Clintons are mass murderers. I will believe that. I absolutely believe that. I've gone so many different directions on them. You know, I saw the Howard Stern interview with Hillary Clinton, and she's on it. It's like an hour interview or an hour and a half interview, and
that's the one where she smokes weed, right? And talks about when her and Bill had sex for the first time.
Yeah. I don't think she smokes weed, but yeah, she definitely talks about that. She definitely talks about her and Bill having sex and stuff like that. And she's just she's very real. And I was like, oh, this fucking old lady, she's harmless, you know? And then I listened to Tim Dillon. I was like, oh yeah, she's had people murdered. She's for sure had people murdered, you know? And like, poor Seth Rich. And,
it's a powerful thing to open up your mind to the possibility that could be happening at the very least. You know how Howard Stern, he like has everyone talk about doing anal sex, and Joe Rogan is like now famous for getting everyone high on his podcast. What's going to be this podcast's like hook?
Making people sing the intro song when they have no singing or ability or talent whatsoever.
Yeah, it'll be like a carpool karaoke thing at the beginning.
Doing something creative that you really have no business doing, but you're just kind of doing it anyways.
I got to end on that. Doing something creative that you had no business and you're trying to have business in. We'll have to end on that.
Never-ending becoming that way.
The never-ending becoming, yeah. Well, thank you, Matt.
Thank you, James.
I appreciate your sincerity today. I could tell you're scaling back from the braggadociousness. I could tell you. No, I'm just kidding. You're being more sincere.
I did feel like today we were really locked in. I didn't ham it up for the camera as much. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know if you were expecting that, but I really didn't ham it up at all today. So I came to get down and fucking converse. Converse.
We got down. We got around. Oh, last thing. This is the first one that will be podcasted and be posted in audio form too.
Oh yeah,
so
that's
like
wild.
Spotify or whatever.
That's so crazy.
Does it feel any different?
No.
Yeah, fuck it. Doesn't matter. All right, see you guys. Bye.